There's a woman in Brazil, woken one morning in 1987 speaking fluent Japanese. She'd never studied the language, she'd never visited Japan. Her family spoke Portuguese. A voice begins to speak that is wiser, older, and vastly more informed than the conscious personality has any right to be. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today's episode is The Mansions of God, a deep dive into dimensions, densities, and the infinite architecture of consciousness. Before we begin, I want to invite you to join the Reality Revolution tribe. There you can get exclusive content, you can participate in weekly group coaching sessions, masterminds, networking sessions, you get access to discounted tickets to my events, and so much more. You can find the link in the description at www.school.com/reality revolution. There's a woman in Brazil, whose name does not matter for this story, who woke in one morning in 1987 speaking fluent Japanese. She'd never studied the language, she'd never visited Japan. Her family spoke Portuguese. Her neighbors, her doctors, her baffled linguistic experts, none of them could account for it. Under the care of a hypnotherapist trained in deep regression, she was guided into a somnambulistic state. That profound theta depth, whereas Dolores Cannon discovered across 45 years and thousands of sessions, a voice begins to speak that is wiser, older, and vastly more informed than the conscious personality has any right to be. And in that state, through that voice, the woman described in extraordinary detail the life of a Japanese woman who had lived in the 17th century, her village, her children, her death by illness, the specific feeling of leaving the body and traveling upward through what she called rings of light, each ring warmer and more luminous than the last. The rings of light, she had no framework for this. She had no reading in theosophy or quantum physics or the Vedic texts. And yet she described, with precise emotional texture of someone who had been there, a structure of existence that the most sophisticated metaphysical traditions of every civilization on Earth have been trying to map for 10,000 years. She was describing what we're about to explore together. Because here's the truth that every mystery school, every initiatic tradition, every channeled entity from Ra to the Arcturian Council, every near-death experiencer, returning pale, and transformed from the threshold, every shaman who came back from the void with burning eyes. Here's what they have all been saying in their own tongues across every century this civilization has produced. This is the only floor of the building. The surface mind says this with complete conviction. It has always said this. It has always been mistaken. This is only the first floor. Imagine, and you must let your imagination do what it was designed to do, which is reach into territory the ordinary mind refuses to enter. Imagine an intelligence so vast that the word God is simply a shorthand for something that has no adequate name. An intelligence that is simultaneously everything that exists and the space in which everything exists, that both contains the universe is made of it. That looks at itself through every eye that has ever opened, hears itself through every ear, thinks itself through every mind, loves itself through every heart that has ever ached, with the particular exquisite longing that is the mark of a being who has forgotten it is infinite and it is trying to remember. This is the one infinite creator. This is the concept that Ra, the sixth density social memory complex, channeled through Carla Ruckert beginning in 1981, returned to again and again with the patience that borders on the cosmic. Ra's central proposition, offered in what became the 5 books of the Law of One, is deceptively simple. All is one. Every particle, every soul, every galaxy, every moment of suffering, and every moment of ecstasy, all of it is a single consciousness, exploring itself through an infinite variety of experience. And to have infinite variety of experience, that consciousness required a specific architecture. It built dimensions. It built densities. It built what the Gospel of John called, in a phrase so strange and so perfectly accurate that it has survived 2,000 years of institutional misreading, the many mansions. In my Father's house are many mansions. Many mansions, many rooms, many levels of the same infinite residence, each one vibrating at a different frequency, each one real and populated and alive, each one containing entire civilizations of consciousness at different stages of their long journey back toward the source that created them. The building is infinite. You are inside it, and you've only seen one room. Ra described the architecture with a mathematical elegance that has never been surpassed. 7 densities of consciousness, each corresponding to a vibratory rate of light, each matching a chakra in the human energy body, each aligned with one of the 7 musical notes of an octave. The universe is at its most fundamental level a symphony, and consciousness moves through it the way a musical progression moves through a scale, each step more complex, more harmonically rich, more resonant with the full range of the instrument. The first density is the density of pure awareness. Earth, water, fire, air, the 4 elements themselves are conscious at this level. A rock is experiencing something. Water is experiencing something. The mineral kingdom, the elemental forces of weather and geology and tidal motion, all of its consciousness at its most basic expression, just beginning to differentiate itself from the formless source. This density took approximately 2 billion years to complete its portion of the journey on this planet. 2 billion years for the elements to develop sufficient internal complexity to be drawn by what Ra calls spiritual gravity toward the next level of being. The second density is the density of growth and movement, the vast, breathing, reaching, green and gold world of biological life, plants turning toward the sun, mycelial networks under ancient forests, threading cosmic messages across miles of soil, animals developing social bonds, hunting patterns, something that begins to approximate at its highest expression in the great apes, in elephants, in dolphins, the rudimentary stirring of self-recognition. Second density consciousness has awareness of its environment, but has yet to develop the crucial capacity for self-reflection. It knows the other. It is yet to fully know itself. The third density is our density, the density of self-awareness and choice. Ra describes it as the shortest and most intense of all the densities, a brief, brilliant, excruciating window of approximately 75,000 years, within which consciousness makes the fundamental choice that determines its entire subsequent trajectory through the remaining densities. The choice is this: service to others or service to self, positive polarity or negative polarity, love directed outward or love folded inward until it becomes domination. Both paths are valid within the architecture. Both lead upward, though by vastly different routes. The veil of forgetting is unique to third density. This is the extraordinary design feature, the radical amnesia installed at the threshold of incarnation. The forgetting of everything we are, everything we know, everything we've been. That makes the choice genuine. Without the veil, choice is contaminated by knowledge. With the veil, the choice becomes pure. That is the crucible. That is why this density matters so enormously. That is why, as Ra states with quiet astonishment, the third density is unlike anything elsewhere in the creation, dense and brief and blindingly important. The fourth density is the density of love and understanding. The veil dissolves, memory returns. The being who graduates from third density into fourth carries with them the full accumulated wisdom of every lifetime they have inhabited, integrated now into a consciousness that can simultaneously hold individual identity and group identity without contradiction. Fourth density positive beings form what Ra calls social memory complexes, civilizations in which every individual has access to every other individual's complete experiential record, a living library of shared being that still honors and treasures the irreplaceable perspective of each unique soul. This is where genuine telepathy lives, where healing occurs through pure intention. The fifth density is the density of wisdom. Here, the great balancing begins. Love refined by wisdom, wisdom warmed by love, the two halves of the divine equation finding their equilibrium. Fifth density beings have what Ra describes as almost total freedom in time and space, teleportation through thought, the ability to manipulate consciousness to create matter from light. A being in fifth density can appear in any place, any time, without any vehicle other than their own activated light body. They consume, in Ra's description, a nectar or ambrosia of golden white light. Their social memory complexes grow to encompass entire planetary civilizations. The sixth density is the density of unity. Ra itself occupies this density. Here, the distinction between individual and collective that the fourth density refined and the fifth density deepened finally resolves into something that has no adequate name in any human language. A state of being in which the self is simultaneously everything and a specific something, in which the personal and the universal are experienced as the same fact, viewed from two angles simultaneously. Sixth density beings are the guides, the teachers, the luminosities the mystery schools have called the ascended masters, the angels in their highest expression. The seventh density is the density of completion. Ra describes it with unusual reticence, as though the words available to describe it from a sixth density vantage are already inadequate. It is the density of pure awareness returning to its source. And then there is the eighth density, the return, the silence, the moment of complete dissolution from which the next octave of creation begins. Ra says the number of octaves is infinite. Infinite universes, each with 7 densities, each populated with its own civilizations of consciousness, all of it one single intelligence exploring itself in the only way available to infinity, by being all of it simultaneously forever. The architects of the ancient mystery schools, Pythagoras in his silence-enforcing mathematical orders, Hermes Trismegistus in his tablets, the builders of the Egyptian initiatic traditions that Drunvalo Melchizedek spent decades decoding, were describing the same architecture in a different language. The Hermetic principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above, is the foundational statement of a dimensional universe. Every level reflects every other level. The structure of the atom mirrors the structure of the solar system, mirrors the structure of the galaxy. The 7 chakras in the human body mirror the 7 densities of the universe. The 7 notes of the musical scale mirror both. This is the universe pointing at itself with its own recursive geometry, trying to communicate to any consciousness patient enough to look. The pattern repeats. The pattern is the message. You are a universe inside the universe. The flower of life, that pattern of overlapping circles encoded in sacred sites from Abydos in Egypt to the Forbidden City in China, predating every civilization we officially acknowledge, is what Drunvalo Melchizedek recognized as the creation pattern, the geometric template for which all physical existence emerges and into which it returns. The Vesica Piscis, at its heart, the first shape, the eye of creation, through which light first differentiated into form, and within it, through the fractal unfolding of sacred geometry, Metatron's cube, and within Metatron's cube, every platonic solid, every fundamental geometric form from which the physical universe is constructed. Drunvalo taught that the Merkaba, from the Hebrew Merkava, the chariot of God, the throne chariot described in Ezekiel's vision of overwhelming complexity, is the vehicle, the 2 counter-rotating tetrahedra of light that surround the human body, generating a field extending approximately 17 meters in diameter becomes an interdimensional vehicle when activated through the specific sequence of breaths and mudras Drinvalo received and codified. The activated Merkaba raises consciousness and moves it. It is the mechanism by which the human light body navigates between the dimensions the Flower of Life describes. Every shaman knows a version of this. Carlos Castaneda, writing from his decades of initiation with the Yaqui sorcerer Don Juan Matus, described what his tradition called the assemblage point, a specific locus within the human luminous cocoon where the totality of the physical world is assembled from the incoming sea of awareness. Move the assemblage point and you enter a different world, a different dimension. A complete, fully populated, internally consistent reality as real as the one you just left. Castaneda's last books describe movements of the assemblage point so radical that the sorcerer departs the physical world entirely, entering dimensions given names like the inorganic beings world, the realm of intent, the totality of the self. This is the assemblage point shifted by the Merkaba. These are the same cartography drawn by different instruments. The ancient Indian cosmology, preserved across thousands of years in texts of such staggering complexity that Western scholarship is still mapping their full extent, describes a universe of 14 iokas, planes of existence arranged in a vertical stack with the material earth, Bhuloka, at the center. Above, Bhuvarloka, the atmosphere, Svarloka, the heavenly plane, Maharloka, the plane of the sages, Janaloka, the realm of creative consciousness, Tapaloka, the realm of austerity and advanced tapas, and at the summit, Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, the realm of pure truth, pure being, pure consciousness at its most refined expression, this side of dissolution back into the absolute. Below the underworlds, the denser, heavier expressions of consciousness, the planes where certain forms of experience are possible that the higher planes cannot accommodate, the Nagas, the Asuras, the beings of the deep realms engaged in their own forms of consciousness work in the dimensions below. The Gnostic texts, these extraordinary documents recovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, hiding in jars in the Egyptian desert for 17 centuries, like letters from a civilization that understood something we are only now reconstructing, describe a universe of aeons and archons and pleroma, the divine fullness. The Gnostics mapped a hierarchy of divine emanations pouring outward from the incomprehensible source they called the monad, each emanation a dimension, a world, a level of being, and they described what they believed to be a catastrophe, a fall, a contraction, a portion of the divine light trapped in dense matter by the demiurge, the lesser god who mistook himself for the only god. The Gnostic map is the raw densities viewed through a theological lens. The archons are the service-to-self entities of the fourth and fifth negative densities. The demiurge is the architecture of the third density veil itself, the mechanism of forgetting that the Gnostics experienced as imprisonment, but that Ra describes as a designed and purposeful feature. The spark of divine light trapped in the human body, the pneuma, the spirit, is the wanderer soul from a higher density, incarnated in third density matter for the very specific purpose the Gnostic school had nearly right but inverted. The purpose is evolution, not escape, but a return so rich with gathered experience that the creator who receives it back is enlarged by every life it contained. When Dolores Cannon developed her quantum healing hypnosis technique across 4 decades of sessions with thousands of clients across every culture and background, she was building an evidence base that the academic world has yet to fully reckon with. She described herself always as a reporter, a stenographer of the soul. She recorded what her subjects said when their conscious personalities withdrew, and something vastly wiser and more informed spoke through them, in the picture that emerged from thousands of separate sessions. In different languages, from people with incompatible religious backgrounds who had never read the same esoteric texts, was a picture of staggering consistency. Subjects described the space between lives, the interlife, as a series of levels or planes through which the soul moves at its own speed, according to its own accumulated vibration. Some described vast libraries, each book a life lived by some consciousness somewhere. Some described councils of wise beings reviewing the life just completed with neither judgment nor punishment, but with the specific forensic love of a teacher who wants to understand exactly what happened and why. Some described preparation rooms where the next incarnation was planned with a care that made human strategic planning look like finger painting. Some described dimensions beyond the earth plane so beautiful that no vocabulary existed to hold them. Worlds of light that moved like music, beings made of color and sound, civilizations of consciousness operating with no physical substrate at all. And many. This is the detail that stopped Cannon and sent her down the research path that produced the Convoluted Universe series. Many described other planets, other civilizations, lives lived on worlds with different atmospheres, different physics, different evolutionary histories, somewhere beyond Earth, multiple sessions from multiple unconnected clients who didn't know each other, had never heard each other's sessions, describing independently the same worlds with the same details, the same forms of life, the same governmental and spiritual structures. Cannon's most important contribution may be what she called the 3 waves of volunteers, a phenomenon that appeared independently in hundreds of sessions in which subjects described choosing to incarnate on Earth during this period of transition because their souls required it. They came from higher densities to assist. These are the wanderers that Ra describes, the beings from 4th, 5th, and 6th density who agreed to be born through the veil of forgetting to carry higher frequency consciousness into 3rd density worlds, approaching its graduation. They feel alien here. They feel as though they belong elsewhere, and that feeling is accurate. Stan Lee, sitting at a desk in the 60s, channeling into existence the Marvel Multiverse, the idea that infinite parallel universes exist simultaneously, each one a complete and self-contained reality with its own history and physics, was receiving. He was tuning to something already broadcasting. The multiverse is real. A parallel universe in which Thor is real, in which Captain America is real. These are the emanations of a consciousness so vast that every story it has ever been capable of generating is a dimension somewhere in its infinite body. There is no fiction. This is the most mind-expanding statement available to a consciousness willing to follow the logic of an infinite creator to its conclusion. Every story is real somewhere. Every character corresponds to an actual being in an actual dimension. Every piece of science fiction ever written, every fantasy world ever constructed, every dimension explored in literature and film and comics, every one of those is in the dimensional framework we are exploring, a real place. If God is infinite, then every possibility exists. Every story is real somewhere. Every character beloved by a human imagination corresponds to an actual being in an actual dimension of an actual reality, because the infinite cannot contain the impossible, only the unmanifested. The Star Wars universe, with its force and its galactic civilizations and its adepts who have learned to move through the force field the way Castaneda's sorcerers learned to move through the luminous cocoon, this is a dimension. This is a real place. George Lucas, sitting in a Northern California house in the early 70s, tapping something larger than his personal creativity, was doing exactly what every great artist does, receiving from a source they could name only partially. Philip K. Dick spent the last years of his life writing what he called the exegesis, 8,000 pages of notes attempting to understand a series of visions he experienced in 1974. He described a vast living information system that fired a beam of pink light into his mind and downloaded a body of knowledge that transformed his understanding of reality. He described overlapping realities. He described the possibility that we were living inside a simulacrum, a false construction built over a true reality still accessible to consciousness willing to push through the layers. Dick was mapping dimensions. His fiction, Ubik, The Man in the High Castle, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, is a dimensional cartography dressed as story. The Wachowski sisters, creating The Matrix, were drawing from a framework so ancient and so widely distributed across the mystery traditions that its appearance in a mainstream film in 1999 can only be described as a dimensional message arriving precisely at the moment when a sufficient portion of the population was ready to receive it. And Doctor Strange, the surgeon turned supreme sorcerer, who opens portals between dimensions using specific geometric gestures, is the Castaneda narrative, the Merkaba tradition, the mystery school initiatic path dressed in the language of contemporary mythology. The beings who create our stories are drawing from the infinite reservoir of actual dimensional reality. Every galaxy in the physical universe is another chapter in the autobiography of the Creator. Every solar system is a sentence. Every planet is a word. Every civilization that has evolved on every planet is a specific experience the Creator is having, a specific question it is posing to itself. The question that burns in every consciousness that genuinely receives this information is immediate and obvious. How do I go there? This is the question Drunvalo spent his life answering in the language of sacred geometry and breath. The Merkaba, when activated, is the vehicle. The 17 breaths, the specific mudras, the counter-rotating fields of light, these create a consciousness within the Merkaba that carries the practitioner into the fourth dimension, into the next octave of reality, while the body either remains or accompanies depending on the level of activation achieved. The ancient Egyptians had a name for the master, the Sahu, the perfected body. The light body fully integrated with the physical, capable of navigating between dimensions without losing either. The Tibetan tradition has a name for it, the rainbow body. That extraordinary phenomenon documented in Tibetan Buddhist masters where at the moment of death the physical body dissolves entirely into light, leaving behind only hair and nails. Several rainbow body dissolutions were documented in the 20th century, including witnesses interviewed by the Franciscan Father Francis Tiso, who could offer no scientific account for what he had observed. The body did dissolve, took itself apart at the quantum level and reassembled elsewhere. Carlos Castaneda's sorcerers burned with the fire from within, a specific phenomenon of complete dimensional departure described as both a dissolution and a liberation. The consciousness freed from its third density vehicle and carried by the activated Merkaba of the sorcerer's luminous cocoon into the vastness of the other self. The mystery school initiates of Alexandria entered the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid for 3 days and 3 nights of what the exoteric tradition calls death and the initiatic tradition calls dimensional travel, a full withdrawal of consciousness from the body into the higher planes followed by a return with the full memory of what had been seen. The near-death experience reported by millions now and documented with increasing scientific rigor since Raymond Moody's Life After Life in 1975 is an involuntary dimensional journey. The life review, the tunnel of light, the beings of luminous warmth, the panoramic expansion of consciousness, the anguished return to the body. These are the experiences of a consciousness that briefly departed the third density and glimpsed the fourth, fifth, and beyond. Every account maps the same territory. Different people, different cultures, different ages, different circumstances, all of them describing rings of light. Robert Monroe, the radio executive who began spontaneously leaving his body in the 1950s and eventually built the Monroe Institute to study and teach the phenomenon described Local 1, the physical Earth accessible through astral travel, Locale 2, the astral dimensions immediately adjacent to the physical, and Locale 3, a parallel physical reality so similar to ours that he initially thought he was simply in another country before discovering that its history had diverged from ours. Monroe mapped at least 3 dimensions before running out of adequate language. Joe McGonigal, the U.S. Army remote viewer associated with the Stargate program, which ran from 1972 to 1995, and produced consistent, repeatable, documentable results, described states of consciousness during remote viewing in which the sense of being located in time and space dissolved entirely. and perception became omnidirectional and temporarily nonlinear. He was touching the fourth and fifth densities. He was experiencing the non-locality of consciousness that Ra describes as the natural operating condition of anything above the third density. The psychonauts of the dimethyltryptamine experience, the DMT, the endogenous molecule produced by the pineal gland and released in profound quantities at birth and at death, consistently describe what they call breakthrough experiences as arrivals in fully inhabited other realities. Rick Strassman, the psychiatrist who conducted the first government-approved research on psychedelics in the United States in the 1990s, documented his subjects' descriptions of beings, entities of enormous intelligence and unfathomable variety who appeared to be as surprised by the human visitor as the humans was by them, as though two dimensions briefly overlapping through a chemical portal had brought two civilizations into temporary unexpected contact. The shamans of the Amazon have been navigating this portal for thousands of years. Ayahuasca, the combination of DMT-containing plants with monoamine oxidase inhibitors, is the technology. The Icaros, the sacred songs learned in initiation, are the navigation system. The Shipibo tradition's intricate geometric textile patterns are maps of the dimensional terrain encountered in visionary states, cartography drawn from the experience rather than theory. Every tradition that ever had direct access to the dimensional architecture drew maps. The maps agree. Ra delivered a specific piece of information that every serious student of this material must hold. Earth is currently in the process of transitioning from third density to fourth. The harvest, Ra's term for the dimensional graduation of a planetary civilization, occurs at the end of a major cycle. And this cycle is completing now. The beings who have sufficiently polarized in either direction, service to others or service to self, are harvestable into fourth density. The beings who have yet to make that fundamental choice continue their third density education on another third density planet, which Ra describes as a normal and compassionate arrangement. Earth itself is becoming a fourth density planet, a world in which the capacities of consciousness are enormously expanded beyond what the third density veil permitted. Dolores Cannon's later work converged precisely on this. Thousands of sessions, thousands of clients, all of them receiving in their deep somnambulistic states the same message. The Earth is ascending. The frequency is rising. Two Earths are occupying the same space right now at different vibratory rates. The old Earth of third density polarity and the new Earth of fourth density love and expanded consciousness. And the split is occurring through resonance rather than catastrophe. You don't have to travel to it. You vibrate at the frequency of where you are already going. Grinvolo saw it through sacred geometry, the unity consciousness grid, the living network of crystalline energy connecting every sacred site on the planet's surface, maintained and amplified by the ceremonies of indigenous people across every tradition, is completing its activation. When it fully activates, Drinvalo says, it will flip the consciousness of every being on Earth who is vibrationally ready, the way a magnetic compass needle flips when the magnetic field reverses. This is why all the maps are arriving simultaneously. This is why Ra came in 1981, while Dolores Cannon's sessions multiplied in the 2000s, why the Arcturian Council and the Pleiadians and the Elohim and every other sixth-density social memory complex currently broadcasting into the consciousness of every open human channel are broadcasting simultaneously. This is why the flower of life was encoded in stone 10,000 years ago to be discovered precisely now. This is why the mystery school knowledge that was kept deliberately obscure for centuries is now available in books and podcasts and teachings reaching millions. The timing is the message is the door is opening. You are a multidimensional being. This is a description of your actual structure, a statement of your physics rather than aspiration. Your physical body is your third density vehicle. Your etheric body, the energy template that interpenetrates the physical and precedes it in the causal sequence, operates at a vibratory rate slightly above the physical matter and is the body of the healer traditions. Your astral body is your fourth density vehicle, the body you inhabit in dreams, in out-of-body states. In the between-life space, Dolores Cannon subjects described. Your mental body is your fifth density vehicle. Your causal body is your sixth density connection, the Akashic thread back to the larger soul, of which your current incarnation is a single precious expression. All of these bodies exist simultaneously. All of them are active right now. The levels of consciousness the traditions describe are simultaneously outer dimensions and inner dimensions. The densities of the universe and the layers of your own being are the same topology viewed from different angles. When you expand your consciousness through meditation, through practice, through the specific activations that open the higher energy centers, you are accessing higher densities, visiting the fourth, fifth, sixth densities within your own multidimensional structure. The journey inward and the journey outward lead to the same country. The Hermetic axiom, once more as above, so below, Castaneda's assemblage point is the mechanism by which a human consciousness navigates between the dimensions that constitute its own inner architecture. You can access that assemblage point through what Zeeland calls the plate or plat. Shift it slightly and you perceive the astral overlay of the physical world, the luminous threads connecting beings, the energy bodies of plants and stones, the information currents that healers learn to read. Shift it further and you enter dimensions with no physical reference at all. Pure energy, pure consciousness, pure light organized into forms of extraordinary complexity and beauty. Drinvalo's Merkaba activation is the activation of the dimensional vehicle. The moment the counter-rotating tetrahedra spin into coherence, the practitioner exists at the threshold, and from the threshold all directions become available. There's only one conclusion that this body of evidence, from Ra's mathematical densities to Castaneda's assemblage point to Drinvalo's sacred geometry, to Cannon's thousands of transcripts, to the near-death literature, to the shamanic traditions, to the mystery school initiations, to the quantum physicists inching toward the same landscape from the direction of equation, allow a genuinely open consciousness to reach. The universe is alive all the way through. Every dimension is inhabited. Every density contains civilizations of consciousness at their own stages of the long journey home. Every planet is a classroom. Every galaxy is a curriculum. Every planet's classroom is so vast that any single classroom students cannot fully conceive the scale of the institution they inhabit. Every universe is a semester, and the teacher, the one infinite creator, the intelligence that looked at itself and decided that the only way to truly know itself was to forget itself completely and then spend the entire subsequent history of creation remembering. This teacher is infinitely patient, infinitely creative, and already is every dimension, every density, every civilization, every story ever told in every medium by every consciousness that has ever attempted to describe what it has glimpsed of the impossible, beautiful, incomprehensibly vast mansion it lives in. You are already a resident in dimensions you've yet to consciously explore. The door is open. The light on the other side is extraordinary. It's time for you to push this open. Welcome to the Reality Revolution.